What's up, everybody? Shawn here, back with another live Live to Roll. This week, talking to my cousin. So this is cool. It's a fun family show. We'll get into some intros and we'll start talking about Easterseals and some of the stuff she does for them. But yeah, I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident almost 19 and a half years ago now, man. These days, it's just stacking.
I keep thinking, man, like time's flying by, but this summer is about to scoot by super quick too,
It's gonna be
with
a busy
all,
summer.
all the busy stuff we got
Uh,
going.
yeah, go
I'm
ahead,
Tom,
Tom.
by
Give
the
your.
way. I just took it from you today, Shawn. My bad. I'm a C6B quadriplegic for the last 25 and gosh, 3/4 years. This year is really scooting by. And Bobby, you want to take it?
Yeah, no problem. I'm Bobby Rohan, C5, C6, coming from Southern California, Huntington Beach. I've been hurt 34 in some years. And enough about us, but let's get to our guest today. Angela, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. I'm Angela. I am Shawn's cousin, originally from Southern California, but joining you today from Bremerton, Washington, and here to chat a bit about Easter seals.
And we're
Yeah,
super excited to have some of the fam on the pod. Like, it's super cool. It was like
yeah, I know.
awesome that you guys are related. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's super cool. And Angie's been doing stuff like working in the special needs world since before I was in a chair. Like she's been helping, even just starting with like babysitting and stuff, autistic children and things like that when like in her younger years. So she's been really involved for a long time. So, do you want to give a
Well,
little bit of your history about how you got involved with Easter Seals and then kind of what you do right now or what you were doing for
Yeah,
them with
sure.
them?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I got started young. My mom worked in special ed, and we had like cousins with disabilities, and so it was a familiar world. I did help with like church groups and babysitting with kids with autism and other disorders that made it hard to be involved in the group setting. And then when I was 17, just about 18, I became a special ed aide down in California. And so that was my first year that I was doing that when Shawn got in his accident, actually. So it has been almost 20 years there as well. Um, I worked mostly in special education as a paraeducator or behavior interventionist, but I got involved with camps because I needed summer work being out of the schools. And when I moved up to Washington, I had started trying my hand at job coaching, supporting people in supported employment. And so I looked up here for a job along those lines and found Easter Seals. And at the same time, found that Easter Seals up here had a camp. And I had never heard about camp, and just being a place where people with disabilities were supposed to be able to come and have access and inclusion and the same experience as everybody else. And that sounded amazing to me. So I started job coaching for Easter Seals Washington, and then camp needed help, so I started going over there for the weekends. After a few months, I became the assistant director of the year-round respite program, which did weekend camps, 14 of them a year, and a family camp. And I
Wow.
worked one summer as an office admin. I did their trainings in the summer. I did assistant directing in summer. And then in 2018, I took over as the program director of Easter Seals Camp Stand By Me. And for 4 years, I ran the year round camping and recreation. So, our full summer program, our weekend respite program, family camps. Pre COVID, we actually launched an inclusive outdoor education program. There's a lot of great things happening in that camp world. And there are over 30 camp programs across the country run by different Easter Seals affiliates. It's the way they're broken down state by state. So you all have a week long program that happens in Southern California, as well as an all summer residential camp in Boulder Creek for Central California. So, like I
Wow.
said, they're different. Some run for a week, some are full summer residential, some are day camp, but there's probably about 3 dozen across the country.
Yeah, that's crazy. I had no idea there was that many of the camps, and or even the Easter Seals did that much. I like really for years only thought it was the film challenge thing, and like,
Right, which is much bigger for you guys in Southern California.
right.
Right.
First off, why haven't we got camping, Shawn?
I
Let's
know
get
that
that.
we.
Let's get that on the bus. Sounds like we had an in with the camping coordinator. So
Yeah.
we should definitely talk about doing a little virtual Easter Seals collab on some camping. But just to give everyone watching kind of an idea to what Easterseals is outside of just their like one of their programs is their camping, and we mentioned the Disability Film Challenge, but and I forgive me if I'm getting the mission statement a little bit off, but Easterseals has been around for over 100 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they are a program that their mission is to provide full equity and access through community services. And
Mm-hmm.
those services range in a lot of different ways, from access to things like filmmaking, access to outdoor education services, camping, and things like that, but also into different programs like living services and other
Mm-hmm.
services related to just providing access and equality living with a disability,
Yeah.
which is super, super amazing. So if anybody is interested in any of these programs too, we'll definitely make sure to link the Easter Sales website in the description. And yeah, lots of information and lots of different services that can provide a lot of support. Sounds like in lots of different locales as well. We again, I was like under the impression Easter Sales was maybe more localized to Southern California, but was really happy to learn that I was mistaken in that regard.
Yeah, Andrew actually said before, because I thought it was even, it's not even nationwide. She said there's a, Australia has a program as well now even. So it's literally like around the world. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want a little history on Easter seals?
Yeah.
Yes, I'd love
Okay. So Easter seals got started by a man named Edgar Allen. He lost his son in a car accident, and a big part of that was not having the medical services that he needed. And so he started looking into how to provide medical service for children who need it, and found out that a lot of these kids who were disabled were just being segregated right into facilities, and was not good with that. And so in 1919, he started it under the name the National Crippled Children's Society, and it was specifically geared around children. And then in about 1934, they launched these Easterseals programs. Hey, I know the director of Camp Challenge in Florida. Sorry, comment
Oh,
distracted me.
oh wow.
But yeah, so about 1934, they started doing these stamps around Easter time. They called them the Easter Seals. And that was one of their like fundraising campaigns every year. And by 1954, the lily, which was the symbol for decades of Easter seals, got incorporated. And by about 1967, people knew the organization more than anything by those Easter seals that got sent out every year. That was the phrase that was tied to it. And so they ended up changing the name of the organization to Easter Seals in 1967. The
Cool.
way that it's run now is like one central body is Easterseals Incorporated, that's based in Chicago, and that oversees everything. But then states have their own affiliates that run their own set of programs. So each state has a slightly different pick depending on like what the population needs. And it does extend all the way out to Ability First in Australia being an Easterseals affiliate. Some big projects are associated with Easterseals, including the Film Challenge, and then different states have different specialties. I was talking earlier with some of the guys in here about how Easterseals SoCal has some like severe behavior services, research facilities. They go hard on that subject. A lot of the different programs have supported employment, whether that's somebody physically being with someone the entire time that they're working, or whether that's people that just need a leg up with like helping with a resume and figuring out how to kind of navigate that world. And then there's independent living services that range everywhere from like actual residences to just support in the home, like learning those skills or setting things up so that you can be successful, and education services, behavior services for children to help them get better educated, the camping and recreation programs. And a lot of places, including Southern California with you guys, have great assistive and augmentative communication programs where people can try out different devices and go to the labs in some cases, or have someone work with them to find the best device. All of those things are under the banner. And like I said, if you live in a particular state, you can look it up like by your state and see what that program has. Or if you're somewhere here huge like California, you have like Easterseals Southern California that has its own CEO and programs, and Easterseals Central California, which has it for that region. So find
And
whatever's closest to you, and then also the Easterseals Inc. website will give info on the whole organization.
and this is for all age ranges.
Yeah, so that expanded decades in. Initially, it was children only, but they added adults and veterans as years
Mhm.
went by. And so that's another piece of it. Working with like the Department of Voc Rehab to support veterans coming back is also under that banner now.
and you don't have to be born with a disability or cognitive. You can develop later, and then you're still qualified for Easterseals.
Right. So, like for supported employment, there's different forms of qualifying. So, for someone with autism, for example, you would qualify through the Department of Develop or the Developmental Disability Association, is what it's called now. And so for that, there are certain pieces of that qualification, like that you were born with it or by a certain age. But we also have people qualify for supported employment through the Department of Vocational Rehab, and that has no stipulation like that. That can be, an injury later in life. That can be coming back from wartime with PTSD. That can be any number of things that apply to adults that don't require having a diagnosis earlier in life.
And for anybody who isn't familiar with the Department of Rehabilitation, we've talked about it a number of times before on different episodes of the pod. I was a benefactor of the Department of Rehab in California. They helped provide support through my whole education, from community college all the ways like through my graduate program, and um, helped me like not only with like finances but just navigating the whole process too, ensuring that I had accessibility, and access to accessibility services at every institution I was attending. And it was just very transformative, super helpful, and helped me get through college debt free, which I think this day and age is immensely valuable, and it's available for anybody with any kind of disability. And it's not just in California. I know the Department of Voc Rehab exists differently, like across the U.S. But make sure to just check into that, Google that if you are looking. And it's not just normal, traditional, like community college educations. Any vocational education that you are aspiring to, they
Yeah,
can help
it's
work
to
with
help people
you.
get back to work and get back,
Mm-hmm.
just living
Exactly.
life. And I think every state does have their own program
Mm-hmm.
with Ryan.
Yeah. But I've known individuals that have gotten vehicles to help with transportation, and lots of really incredible services that, like, I was even shocked to find out that they provide and help out with. But it's really amazing. So make sure to check out Department of Rehab if you find yourself in that situation, maybe wanting to try to get back to work or just explore education and whatever opportunities they might be able to help you out with.
Mm-hmm.
um, So, as far as like what you do with the camping programs and outdoor education services, tell us a little bit about that. I've been an outdoorsy person my whole life, and it's mostly just been my mom and dad like say, "Hey, there's gonna be no limits. We're gonna get out fishing. We're gonna get out camping. We're gonna get outdoors," because it was just like a love and a passion of theirs. And we did
Mm-hmm.
find a way. It was taking plywoods and 2x4s with us to make little like accessible paths that were not accessible, or to just going for it and tackling whatever obstacles they were. But also part of that was like research too, and finding accessible campgrounds and accessible trails and things like that. So can you tell us a little bit about your guys' camping programs and what services you offer in that regard?
Yeah. So I said I was a program director of Easterseals Camp Stand By Me for 4 years. I left a little over a year ago, but stayed on as a consultant to help with their training and hiring and that piece. I still am a consultant for Easterseals Inc., the national organization, helping to run their camp brainstorming groups. So we have these things called affinity groups where the different affiliates all can get together to talk about their programs. So for camp, we have all of the camp directors in the country invited to these Zooms. And I took over this version of the Zooms where every 2 weeks we meet so that people have time to like brainstorm and talk about like problems and help each other. And so the camp programs all look a little different. Like I said, some might like rent out a space for a week and provide just that for the summer. Some of us are actually sites that the organization owns, and so we're able to run like a full summer residential camp. And so that was my experience at Easterseals Camp Stand By Me. We own the site on Vaughn Bay in Washington. And so we were able to do 9 weeks of summer camp and then 14 weekend respites a year and a family camp every year. And the way that ours is set up is in an attempt to be as accessible as possible, basically to provide camp to anybody who wants it and can't get it otherwise. So I had campers ranging age 7 through the lifespan. My oldest camper, the last session that I was director, was 71 years old. I had to go look it up because he was insisting that he was the oldest and he wanted to be like very sure that he had that title. So I did check. He was 71 the week we had camp. And we also qualify for a wide range of things. I have kids who come in who qualify under like ADHD, emotional behavior disorders, and that makes it really hard for them to be successful at a traditional, like large scale YMCA camp. I have people who come in with just physical disabilities, there's nothing cognitive or developmental. And everything in between. We have autistic campers and campers with Down syndrome and campers with rare disorders that, we have news articles about because they're just kind of figuring it out. So it's really just trying to provide that experience to absolutely anybody who wants it. One of the coolest summers that I had was my very first summer as program director. We go through this website called Very Special Camps where people can reach out either if they want to work at your camp or if they want to attend your camp. And it gives a little bio of the camp for them to go off of. And I got this message through there that was from Tunisia, North Africa. And it was a young man who he was supposed to go into an academic program in the summer that he had earned through his academics in school over there. It was going to be this American fellowship program. And he had muscular dystrophy and needed complete assistance on all of his personal care lifts transfers. And so when they saw his support needs, they were like, we can't support that. We actually can't have you. And so he was heartbroken, and his teacher sent out emails to everybody. He's like, he just wants like an American summer. He was promised this, and like now he can't have it. Can anybody make this work? And we were the only ones that got back to her and were like, what do we need to do to make it work? And so we ended up having this kid come out for 2 sessions. And so he got to do 2 full sessions at summer camp where he had the complete assistance he needed for personal care, lifts, transfers. He got to be there for the petting zoo and do canoeing and archery and all the things that we do at camp. And it timed out so that he actually came during the weekend where we take staff to Seattle. So like as a fun little bonus that campers don't usually get, he got to go on that staff trip to Seattle and actually like tour around and buy like $70 worth of candy to bring home and go to the aquarium and stuff like that. And so I just like that story. It is on the Easterseals Washington blog, I think still, but I think it just speaks to the mission of like trying to give everybody the chance to just like experience this. Like we take for granted the ability to just go out and do archery and go canoeing or be in a camp program. And, we get people out there who never thought that they would be on a boat, like never thought that would work. And another thing that was really illustrative for me was when we started doing during the pandemic, these experiences where caregivers could come out with a camper and like they could come and have the experience. And you had so many people who would be so nervous, like, oh no, they can't get into a canoe. And you're just like, no, I promise, like they can. We can get anybody into a canoe. We do it every week. And so it was just really illuminating for like the adults in their lives to see what these campers are capable of too.
How long are the camps and I heard canoeing, but what are some of the things that you do at the camp, and how long do these camps last? Are they like week long and then you get different kids each week, or are they months long? How does it work?
Yeah, so with the caveat that like I said, every affiliate runs a little differently. Ours, which is pretty standard for residential, was 6 or 8 day sessions. 8's what we call a long session, 6 is a regular session. And we split up by age range. So children's is 7 to 21, and then young adults is 15 to 35, and then adults is 22 and over. And so we would have around 50 campers in each of those sessions. And we have about 6 cabins that we use to fit everybody and staff up each of those cabins. And then the first night that campers arrive, they get to do the campfire down by the bay. So we sing camp songs, introduce everybody, do your first round of s'mores. We also have like alternative foods. We deal with a lot of special diets at camp. People can thickened liquids or pureed foods or gluten-free. So lots of special diet options out there. And then during your week, your full days, you typically rotate through about 4 activities a day. There's arts and crafts, there's archery. We have a yurt that was called the Nature Learning Center that had microscopes and kind fur pelts, so like they feel like fur, and little containers to go catch things, to go look under the microscope. And we did swimming and canoeing, which were larger blocks. That's like half your day, to get out there onto the bay and do some canoeing or just go look in the water. Some people just really like going out and actually swimming in there. And then the swimming pool is one of our biggest things. I actually just saw a poll on the Easterseals Camp Stand By Me page the new director put up that was like, what's your favorite thing? And I knew it would be swimming pool before we ever got there. Our swimming pool is 90-degree at all times, therapeutic swimming
Ooh.
pool. Has ramp access, has a hot tub. So that is like the prize of camp right there. And so
Where do I
over
sign up?
I
yeah.
know. Like
And
that.
so over the course of a few days, you get to do a little bit of all those things, and you tie dye some shirts over here, and you have some bonus campfire time over here. And then in the evenings, we would do the big group activities. So everybody comes together for camp dance or the camp talent show. We brought out petting zoos before. We had the CEO's band, the hometown band, come out and play on our rec field. Um, we have a group called Jet City Improv in Seattle, and they donate their time in the summer to different camps. And so they would come out twice in the summer and put on an improv show for us. So, yeah, that's basically what you do over the week at camp. And then the last day, you have some breakfast and get yourself all packed up and head home. And then the weekend respite program was like a little condensed version of that, where you would check in Friday night and we'd do campfire if we had the weather, otherwise, something indoors, a little dance or something to start off. And then we pack the Saturday full. You know, you would always have your swimming block, try to fit in some canoeing time, get some archery in. Have a little bit of flexibility where people could go to their preferred locations, and then Sunday morning breakfast, fit in your last activity, and out the door.
That's
That sounds
amazing.
really magical. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how healing just being outdoors can be.
Mm-hmm.
Experiencing that, getting in a river in a canoe, getting in a pool, getting wet, and feeling and experiencing those different things. Like I think it's so positive for your mental health. It's positive for your physical well-being, but it's also, I think, very confidence building too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of whatever age you are, um, doing some of those experiences, but also like, just getting to the other side of it. I think there can be a lot of nerves and trepidation going in, but having an organization like that ensures that you're successful and ensures that you're able to participate can build a lot of confidence for the individual. I just know from personal experience, been doing a lot of this stuff through Triumph Foundation, like doing a lot of the adaptive rec activities, some of the more non-traditional ones like scuba and things like that, and even like canoeing and stuff. It was such a confidence booster because I was so scared around water and so trepidatious about, like certain activities like that. But having done it now, I'm like, oh man, like what am I gonna do next? Which is
Mm-hmm.
like just super, super cool, and really, really awesome. So anybody that hasn't experienced the outdoors activities as much, definitely look into something like Easter seals or even Easter seals and see if there's any opportunities around you because it can be
Mm-hmm.
very transformative in one's life. I think to go through experiences like that and to come out feeling good and confident on the other side is really something that is very transformative for me that I've been lucky to do a number of times in my life as well.
I
Yeah.
think even besides the actual having fun with the sports and recreation, like because it sounds like you group people together, kind of age range and sort of
Mhm.
similar, like just similarities of what they're dealing with. So I feel like the connections they probably make,
Mhm.
because I don't know, I remember making friends at camp and stuff like, so I'm
Yeah.
sure that's kind of something that sticks with
Oh,
them as well too. They make like lifelong friends that they may connect with.
Yeah.
So
They really do, and they try to plan out like coming all at the same time, and like getting the whole cabin together. And I think like the confidence and self actualization is a big piece that we see. A lot of people like find their personalities or things that they're passionate about when they're at camp, and they have the freedom to do that. And then also that social piece. I have a couple campers who started dating when I was working at camp,
Oh
and
wow.
one of their moms still sends me pictures of them, and it's been a few years now. Like they met each other there. So yeah, it's a very very social experience, and a lot of people come out of it with some really cool relationships, and some of them have pictures of each other at camp. I mean, our camp launched in 1975, and so we have campers who have been coming since the 70s, since the 80s, and there's
Oh
pictures of them as children together, and now they're coming as adults together.
wow. That's
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
I
Do you
love.
have do you
Go
get
ahead, Bob.
wheelchair users at these camps?
Yes, definitely. So that's a big part of our training. That's a big part of our setup is being wheelchair accessible. Like I would say, our site is still a bit rugged. Like we are on hills, and so for our staff, it can be a lot of pushing people up and down in hills. But that is something you literally like wake up at 7 in the morning and train for. And we have Hoyer lifts on site, and we train on lifts and transfers and personal care assistance. We have a lift that goes into the pool and ramp access. We have these great access mats for the beach that roll out so that you're not dealing with like the rocks and the mud. We even got some really neat wheelchairs for the bay that was like right before the pandemic, so I've only got to see them used once myself. I really hope this summer's amazing, but we have a couple of beach wheelchairs and even a couple of them that have like the floats so they can go out into the water and you can just float on this chair. So yeah, the whole design is supposed to be wheelchair accessible and just as open to wheelchair users. We have adaptive archery. Yeah, everything is adapted that
That's
way.
great. I did I was a director for wheelchair. I started out as a one of the coaches, and then got all the way to director of wheelchair sports camps from kids from 7 to 21, and every summer for a week. They didn't go there. It was a day program,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. Um, but yeah, just watching the kids grow up, and I did it for many years, and the friendship and seeing them on Instagram, going, "Oh my God, they did get married. They were married. They have a kid," and you're like, I wouldn't, you're just like,
Yeah,
these are my
you get it.
kids having kids, and
Yeah.
amazing. And we had one guy who uh, could not sit still for for anything. He was just constantly shaking, and that
Mm-hmm.
was his norm. And whenever he talked, whenever he got excited, it got more. And we took him out to archery. And the most amazing thing, and I always love telling this story, is when he pulled back on the bow. We had these Disney characters out there, and then all of a sudden he stopped for 5 seconds, looked at all of us, and he said, "Die, big piglet," and let go, and it shot it right between the eyes. And
What?
I literally laughed so hard that I fell out of my chair. Luckily it was onto the grass, but we were laughing so hard. And he just sat there, and his shakiness going, uh, uh, it's just like, I just wish, we had cell phones back then, so we could have had a video of it, but it's nice. It's just amazing to watch these kids grow up. And I also got to be director of a wheelchair sports or MD camp where we did have cabins and all that. So it is amazing. And that's, knowing that there's, MD camps and wheelchair sports, the
Mm-hmm.
Easterseals, you know, that, you just want everybody to experience these wonderful things that are out there. And I always feel bad when I run into somebody that doesn't get to experience something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Well,
speaking of sorry to say the MD camps. So the MD camps are amazing, and we actually worked with Camp Promise for about a decade. And Camp Promise extends beyond like where the Muscular Dystrophy Association camps go. They age out, and Camp Promise, like their goal was to keep providing that. And so there's a few of them now across the country, but for the first 10 years, they were on our site here in Washington, and they would put on a week every summer at the end of ours. They ended up going to another site because they outgrew us. Their program got so big. And they did the most amazing things. They would bring out, I know I've seen Shawn on the like off-roading kind of wheelchairs. Like they would bring those out to our fields and they would have full like black and white black tie events. And that's a really amazing program that also people stick with for many years. And you see the pictures of them when they're little and all the way up to like being adults and being involved in it. And, I think those programs are really cool too.
Yeah, that's
I love
awesome.
what you said earlier too about during the pandemic you opened it up to caregivers and family members coming
Mhm.
together. Like some
Mhm.
of these experiences with like the camping and the outdoor and all those different activities can be so educational and so transformative. I think for you
Mhm.
know caregivers and family members of the individuals with the disabilities too. Like what one it just like break down some barriers. I think it can like open their eyes to oh snap. It's just like what you said. It's like no, we can get into a canoe. We do it every week. We haven't been able to not do it with somebody yet. So we'll make it work.
Yep.
Uh, but I think them experiencing that or seeing their client or the family member whoever it is to them get to experience it, it opens up their mind to like, oh snap, like there are probably so many other opportunities, so many other cool activities and things that we can get involved in and get out and start doing. So I just love that you mentioned that too, because I think,
Yeah.
not only for the disabled individuals, but for everybody involved, it can be
Mhm.
so educational and such a transformative experience.
That's one of
Yeah.
my favorite things with the with the Triumph sports stuff. Like we just had the sports festival, the end of last month, and that's what's great is because like brothers, say siblings, one with a disability, one with not, maybe have never really played together in like a sport and played
Mhm.
something. So being able to both do the same activity and play together, compete a little bit, like that kind of stuff is really amazing and just creates like such great memories and stuff. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I would say the caregiver one that we did worked out just like you were saying, Tom. Because like the one woman who made the comment, like, "Oh, I don't think she can get in a canoe," and then we did, and they had such a great time. She came back and she's like, "I kayak all the time. Like, I never thought to bring her out with me, you know." And so like, it just opened this door for this kid.
Mm.
And then we did family camps every Memorial Day weekend. I think this year it's going to be Labor Day, but we used to do them every Memorial Day weekend for years, and those were really really amazing and like really, I mean, I think transformative is a good word, and just kind of fed your heart. Like you had these families that come out and they all got to do things together, and like they were in an environment where waiting to like transfer somebody like wasn't a big deal. Nobody was going, like, oh gosh, we got to get moving. Or if your camper had more like sensory challenges and like made a lot of noise in response to things, or like stemmed in a way that was really visible, like nope, nobody was paying attention. Like you weren't, afraid that you're going to get kicked out of a facility, or that people are going to be looking at you. And it was really just like kind of this lens into like this different world, right? Where like it actually is inclusive and like everybody's there to do the same things. And the fact that they're accessing it differently is just what we're expecting.
Yeah, and that's a
Hmm.
beautiful thing. Like,
Hmm.
imagine a world where one day it's all like that, and
Exactly.
it's programs like Easterseals and stuff that
Hmm.
sets the groundwork for making everything truly accessible and
Hmm.
equitable like that. Which it's one of the things we're out here doing Live to Roll too is
Yep.
highlighting stuff like that, but also talking about the importance and how life changing it can be for individuals to experience that because some of them have gone their whole lives never experiencing it once,
Hmm.
which is crazy and sad and
Yeah.
wild. Um, Now, just like kind of a side note, it's been rattling around in my head. I have a passion for education. I'm not an educator, but my sister's an educator, and having gone through the public school system myself with my disability my whole life, and just going off my experience, I'm always fascinated by others who again are in that space. And it's you said you worked as an educator, and your
Hmm.
mom was an educator in special ed. My mom was a psych tech, so she worked with adults with developmental disabilities, but her dad was a special educator as well, so
Hmm.
lots of overlap, and it just
Family
kind of
line.
got me going. So do you mind just talking about your experience a little bit in that environment, educating in special ed environment? I know you got out of it. Is there a reason you did leave education and went towards something else?
So I'm actually back in education now. So it's a whirlwind. No, so I've been either a paraeducator or a behavior interventionist in special ed for about 15 out of the last 20 years. That's what I've done like the very most of. Camp, I started taking on like the weekends and the summers until I became program director for a few years. And then the pandemic really changed things around there, and I decided I wanted to go back to school myself and kind of see what I wanted to do, how I wanted to engage with disability services. And FAFSA doesn't pay that much, so I still need a job. And so, like, my instinct was to go back to the schools, like special ed. I was literally 17 when I started there. I've been in schools for the vast majority of my life. It's comfortable for me. And so, yeah, I've worked a variety of classrooms. I did the most of my time. I did what in California would be called moderate to severe. Up here is like ISP is kind of the program, but I worked with the students who had like the highest support needs. I worked in the low incidence kind of program. So that was where you had kids that had cerebral palsy or, autism, but were nonverbal or maybe struggling with aggression because they didn't have the communication skills yet. That got me into a lot of behavior work. And so that's actually where I'm at now, is working in an emotional behavior disorders program. So it's school-based behavior, and the way that that's like modeled nowadays in schools with the PBIS kind of positive behavior interventions is that like you have certain tools for the whole school to use. And then if those tools aren't working and the students need a little bit more support, then they're called what's tier two. And so in tier two, you get a little bit more intensive support for your academics, for your social skills. And then tier three, which is the most low incidence of ours, are the students who need high support. That could mean that they're in, a behavior program classroom all day doing work from other teachers. That could mean they need like someone physically to go out with them, or it's a lot of social skills and behavior intervention work. And that's the kind of program that I'm in now. So I am working in, emotional behavior disorder program at this point in time, but I've run all over. It's been really fun at our school. There's a lot of special ed programs and they work really well collaboratively together. So it's super fun to get to like see some of the kids in the other programs. And because I've done this work, like I got my certificate from CSUN in augmentative communication assistive technology. So I
Shout
can
out
pop up.
Matadors. Shout out
Huh?
Matadors. I said, shout out to Matadors. Let's go.
Yeah,
I'm
so he's a
an
CSUN graduate too.
yeah, so,
Everybody did their time at CSUN. Yeah, but it's nice to be able to help with the Dynavox over here, or like help with lift and transfer over here, or help with the behavior intervention over here. So I've
yeah.
really worked in almost kind of everything that you can in the school world. I think one thing that was super fun that I hope our program gets to do more of is like the community-based stuff. I worked a lot of that transition age where like in 18 to 21, people are trying to figure out like what they want to do with their life, which is how I got into the job coaching. And so those programs are great because you get to be out in the city and helping learn grocery shopping and navigating buses and, going to work. And so I did a few years in Seattle that were really cool because we were on the bus system every day. We would go, south of downtown, and they would go do work at the school district, and like then we'd come back up and you would have like grocery shopping, but then bring the food back to do like a cooking lesson. And so I think it's been really fun over the last 20 years. It's weird to say 20 years, but that will be true in October. In the last 20 years, just like how much better the programs have gotten and how much more like actually focused on independent living, I think they've gotten. I think that's been a really neat development to see, is actually like plugging people into the community and helping them live their best life.
Well,
Yeah.
first off, big shout out to Angela for all of your years of service and, helping our community. And just what you said, like independent living and stuff
Mm-hmm.
outside of, like just the education stuff, which is so much like, the education of living is so
Mm-hmm.
absolutely important. I mean, I remember my dad hopping on the bus with me for the first time to my junior college to help teach me and help show me and stuff. But it was like a thought that does and did cross my mind. It's like, do other people have help like this?
Right.
Do they have to help walk them through it and stuff? And I mean, just like what you said, busting to the store, getting
Mm-hmm.
groceries, getting your groceries home, preparing them and stuff like that is a very learned thing that I think even a lot of able-bodied people struggle with moving out and transition for the first time. But that
Mm-hmm.
those thoughts are very seldom given to disabled individuals who are trying to accomplish the same thing. So it is
Mm-hmm.
very inspiring and like fills me up with lots of positive feelings to know that education in that regard and those services have gotten better, because it's
Mm-hmm.
something that I kind of like feel like I was on the road alone a lot with like my mom and dad and my brother and sister, like helping me navigate and figure out all this stuff. And that's kind of part of what we, and my passion with Live to Roll is to help provide, at least like education through my experience and, um, you know, some shortcuts as to like how to navigate some of these rather than going, you know, the wrong way and all these different roads all on your own, which I think a lot of us end
Hmm.
up. But it's very, very cool to hear about better organized social services in that regard that are, making a point to provide some of that education for people. It's really, really cool. Very
That's
exciting
great.
to hear.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Angela, for your services as a father with a daughter who was special needs, had a seizure disorder,
Hmm.
and nonverbal. Um, I would be a teacher's aide for the classroom for a half a day once a week, and
Hmm.
woo, I don't know how he did it. I mean, luckily I didn't have to ever, yell at my daughter because she just sat there and stemmed herself every day, because she of her Lennox gastosis seizure disorder. But the
Hmm.
other kids, oh my, and I'm sure I think Shawn said it, and I've seen it happen many, many times on occasions where the teacher is either bitten or pretty much have, some kind of object thrown at their head from time to time.
Yeah, my family doesn't love the amount that I've been injured at work. That is true, but I think this is going into more like the behavior side of special education. But like it was always my philosophy that like people need to be taught the tools and the skills to use options other than the aggressive behavior they're using. Like in the field, we say behavior is a communication, right? Like you're trying to express something and they don't have another way to express this right now. And the only way we're going to get to the other side where they have those tools and skills is through it. And when you're going through it, you're going to get hurt sometimes. But like, it's just a piece that you accept because, like, you're not just saying, like, oh, I give up. This person's always going to beat me up. But you're saying, okay, I might get hurt a little while I teach them how to ask for what they want or how to regulate or how to leave the room instead. Whatever that tool or skill is that they're missing, like, that's what we got to get them and we will get to the other side. And I've seen really, really amazing transformation in people that I've worked with when like you're sympathetic to the fact that they're trying to communicate something and like they just don't have a better way right now.
Yeah. I having gone through like my experience in public school, I think I was probably like tier one. I needed some assistance in like the normal classroom environment. They
Mm-hmm.
tried to put me in like more specialized classroom at first, but I want to shout out my mama. She's awesome and was just like very involved in my education and making sure I was, everything was accessible and I had access to all the services and everything that I needed. But part of that was like I should be in a normal classroom and be getting
Mm-hmm.
kind of more normal social experience and also provided whatever assistance I needed in the classroom to make it accessible. And for me, that was an aid in the classroom, at least
Mm-hmm.
when I was like in elementary school and accessible desk and maybe some modification to
Mm-hmm.
activities that I would find like physically, like limiting or something. Um, but the social or the special education program too also was very great, at least in my school, and that they did ensure that all the other kids who maybe were in a different class with more specialized environment did have a lot of access and inclusion in the rest of the school and like
Mm-hmm.
socializing with other kids too and stuff. And I just remember how important it was for those other kids to like the kids in the regular classrooms to experience that because
Mm-hmm.
it taught them so much. It taught them how that there are other different kinds of people, living perfectly normal, happy, wonderful lives. But giving them the experience to go and interact and socialize and understand and learn about individuals with disabilities and how they live, how they interact and stuff. I just remember how educational and transformative that was for other kids too. So shout out to all the great special education programs that are doing it right because I know that it can be a really difficult thing to tackle, especially when the support for special education services aren't always there and haven't always been there. Especially,
Mm-hmm.
if you go back like 30 or 40 years ago,
Right.
that did not exist the way that they do now. And
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, things have changed for the better because it's so, so important, not just for the individuals who benefit from those services, but all the other kids too. I think it's just, equally
Yeah.
as important.
No, inclusion is for everybody. I mean, that's it. It's about understanding that like we all exist. We're all like part of this world together, and we have this weird way of boxing each other out so that like you don't see the whole picture. And that's why those times like family camp or inclusive programs are so amazing, because you just see like the real world in this controlled environment, like the way that it should be. I think it's hugely beneficial to other kids to realize that people with disabilities are right there next to them, and like have something funny to say, or like maybe you're a great writer, like like they're not just a motivational speaker who shows up every year. There's a
Yeah.
there's this really great YouTube by Stella Young. She was a disability advocate and comedian who passed away a few years ago, but it's called "I'm Not Your Inspiration, Thank You Very Much." And I would just recommend that to anybody because it reminds me, because she talks about going to classrooms to teach and people being like, "Aren't you going to give a motivational speech?" And it's just like not seeing people's full humanity. But that YouTube is pretty amazing little piece she left for the world.
What?
Definitely have
Say it
to
again,
check that out.
so we can look for it.
Yeah, it's called "I'm Not Your Inspiration, Thank You Very Much"
Okay, I'm not your
by
What's her name?
inspiration.
Stella
Stella
Young.
Young.
Hmm.
Okay. I was wondering if we can go back a little bit with the Easter seals and a couple questions, about, I mean, I'm sure it's all about grants and
Mm-hmm.
fundraising, but where does Easter seals usually get their money? And then for those who don't know, if you can talk about the film, what was it called?
Mm.
Film.
The
Yeah, the
disability
The
film
disability
Disability
film
Film
challenge.
Challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you want
Yeah.
to, for those who don't know, I mean, I've heard it and seen some of the projects, but if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely can do both. So money, like you said, it's a lot of fundraising. You're, always, chatting with donors, trying to find partners, looking for grants. And then some of it is program fees, and some of it is through contracts. So like a lot of our campers in Washington use DDA respite hours. So that's the Developmental Disabilities Administration. They provide respite hours for people, and those respite hours can be used for camp. And so some of our money is funded by government contracts in that way. And then the Disability Film Challenge, I'll jump to, is a really cool project. It hit its 10 years this year. And so it is, close to Hollywood down there. That's why film is such a big thing. I know how many of my friends are like, a gopher here, a PA here, or lighting here when you live down there. But it was trying to put a spotlight on people with disabilities in film, behind the camera, in front of the camera. I think there's been a lot more conversation these last few years about like, hey, maybe, people without disabilities shouldn't be playing people with disabilities as
yeah
frequently, like the same way we've changed that in a lot of regards, right? I know there was a news story that went around recently about the guy from Glee who played Artie, who was in a wheelchair, who said he would not come back and do it again. Like he was like, no, that role should go to somebody in a wheelchair. So attitudes are changing, and this film challenge was trying to like really highlight that. Nick Novicki, who is a comedian and actor, got involved, and he's been kind of the spokesman for the last few years.
yeah
But every year they put it up in like end of March, beginning of April, and it's like the prompt is given, and there's 5 days to like put your video together, and they're these shorts, and they win from a lot of different places: IMDb sponsors, NBC Universal sponsors, and so there'll be different categories for like best actor and best director, and the people that win grants, win IMDb Pro, win computers, win mentorships, all sorts of things to help them kind of launch into what they want to do in film.
and I know that's in LA, but
Mm-hmm.
can anybody enter from around the country?
Yes, actually, I have a coworker here whose landlord actually enters every year, and he's been involved in that. And so when he was like, "Oh yeah, this disability film thing," I was like the Easterseals disability film thing. So yeah, I think they said 115 entries from around the world this time.
Cool.
Oh wow, nice.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, shout out to Nick too. I had an opportunity to meet
Yeah,
chat with
I've
Nick
talked to Nick.
2
He's
years
cool.
ago at
Nice.
the Abilities Expo, where they had like a
Mm-hmm.
little booth at the film challenge to
Yeah.
promote it as the whole Easter Seal thing. And it was a really kind, intelligent, considerate individual. And yeah, it was super funny and awesome to talk to.
That's great.
We
Yeah.
Yeah,
have
Nick's cool.
some members of the Literal Fam too who've been involved in the Disability Film Challenge the last few
Mm.
years. I know Danny Gomez and a couple other of our actor friends.
Brianna
And
does it the last couple
yeah,
years too.
yeah,
Brianna's
yeah.
done it.
Nice.
So
Very cool.
So if you find yourself interested in film, interested in getting involved in some way, and there's
Yeah.
definitely some opportunity to get some money, get some cool equipment, some cameras and stuff. So definitely go and check out the film
And even
challenge.
just the exposure you get, because a bunch of people, like
Hmm.
I've watched a bunch of those little film challenges on there, because like
Hmm.
Brianna, like I'll see people post the links on Instagram, and I'll try to like them and go on there and
Hmm.
view them and stuff, and they're cool. They're good
Yeah.
little short films to watch. They're fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it helps with the exposure that they're just little
Yeah, the
shorts, right? Like, I
exposure.
mean, you can watch it while you're sitting on social media, so I think it
Right.
works out really well for people.
Yeah.
And as we approach the end here, is it all right if I take a moment to shout out our sponsors real quick, Sean?
Yeah, dude. Let's do
You all know them, you all love them. If you find yourself in need of wheelchairs, standing frames, shower chairs, any other similar rehabilitation equipment, please make sure to go and check out Mobility Professionals. Give them a call, go to their website, get in touch with them. Everyone who has experienced it knows how difficult it can be to navigate the healthcare system and get you the right equipment. Make sure you're independent and safe and functional and healthy in that equipment, and this is a company that makes that process easy. Make sure you get what you need, and if it's not right, they'll get it right for you because they understand just how absolutely important it is to be healthy and functional and safe in your wheelchair, whatever equipment you use. So go and give some love to mobility professionals. Let them know Literal sent you, and get your rehabilitation equipment needs taken care of. Their sister company, Urology Professionals, is a national company. So if you are anywhere in the beautiful United States of America and find yourself in need of catheter supplies or any other urological related supplies, and you're struggling to get them, or you're just looking for a simple, easy, reliable company to get you them every month without thoughts or stress, go check out Urology Professionals. They've helped out some of our literal fam, and they can help you out too if you are in need or just looking for a change. They are really, truly amazing company. Have lots of individuals that are part of the community, volunteer in the community, and like I said, truly understand how difficult it is and how important it is to make it easy and help us understand and take some of that stress off of our back when it comes to navigating the healthcare system. So, a big shout out to our sponsors. We love you guys, and we really do appreciate the support. Literal would not be without y'all, so thank you guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate our sponsors.
Hmm.
And if you guys check out the last video I just posted a couple days ago of the sports festival, there's a couple of shots of some of the mobility professionals, employees. They were there volunteering all weekend, fixing wheelchairs, changing tires. And I got a shot of Monica, one of the really nice girls that will help you with customer service when you call, doing some archery and stuff there. So it's yeah, just check out the video. They're amazing people and they volunteer at all our stuff. So
Now, Angela, I wanted to ask you too, is like on my docket of questions about the independent living programs with Easterseals. You have any knowledge on that? I've been tackling the monumental task of independently living with my disability for the last 10 years, and it has been the best thing I ever did, but also probably the most difficult decision I ever made was to
Hmm.
tackle it. And not only supporting my care, but maintain my health and
Hmm.
all the obstacles that come along with trying to live independently with a higher level of disability. So, can you just tell us a little bit about those services and maybe where we can go to learn and get more information too?
Yeah, so what I know about it, the last year that I was working for Easterseals as a director, I was actually a senior program director. So I oversaw camp, but I had also taken over the workforce development program, which is supported employment. And we were just beginning on the independent living contracts. I was just learning about it. But basically, we went through the Department of Voc Rehab for that. So they were the ones who funded the services. And the first thing that you could get done was like an assessment. So having someone come in and like see you at home and see your environment and do an assessment on like what you would need to be more successful, what tools, what skills, like what exactly are the pieces that would help. And then from there, you would get a contract to have someone come in. And that could be whether it's like modifying your environment or like teaching you skills, things like that. And then another piece that didn't fall under independent living, but like touches on what we were talking about in terms of independent living, is transportation. So up here, we have a program called Pierce Transit, which is Pierce County, which is our neighboring county. And they actually use Easterseals travel training program that a lot of the organizations nationwide use. And that's for people with disabilities, like learning how to access travel. And it's kind of the same system where you get taken out to the public transit, and first, like, kind of your skills are assessed, your risks are assessed, and all of that. And then you get plugged in with somebody who actually takes you out and like trains you in how to do it. And so those are a couple of the things that are offered. And so I would say through Easterseals, if you go into like your local Easterseals and look up their services, I think Southern California does have an ILS category, so like independent living support. Um, and then beyond that, I would say go through Department of Voc Rehab and see what organizations they use, because they would have vendors, right, that they have contracts with, to help with that independent living support.
And I would say the Department of Voc Rehab too, like Easter Seals, to point you more to maybe the localized services, because that's like
Mm-hmm.
the big thing with independent living is like living is different everywhere, and kind of the
Mm-hmm.
services and how it's like done and how it's tackled is a little bit
It's tailored
nuanced
to that
depending on
area.
where you go. Exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
getting access to those localized services that
Mm-hmm.
can understand that nuance and help get you what you need is
Mm-hmm.
definitely yeah, the path you want to follow. But Eastern Seals can be it's probably a great place to start too, and trying to find maybe those specialized services and just a general
Yeah.
base of information to get started with and get you to the right programs. So
Yeah.
you
So
guys,
you
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, like Easterseals is a great vendor, but like usually Department of Voc Rehab or DDA, if you're like going through the developmental disabilities side of things, can plug you into like all their vendors. We would have people shop around, right? Like once you go through like the government side of it, they would be like, here are these different services that we use that like you can pick who is best suited for you.
It's
Yeah.
good to
I see.
know. So
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah, I linked the Easter Seals website in the description, but I'll try if we have any other Voc Rehab or anything. But
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of links through there, right? Can you find all the
Mm-hmm.
stuff just through the
There's
website?
quite a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there's quite a lot.
there's a lot on
And
there.
the little research that I did, I mean, just that website just kept going on, and
I know
as
there's a
It can be overwhelming.
yeah, and I was just, and I'm, kind of stumbled on a page that I say because my parents are dealing with Alzheimer's, and
Mm-hmm.
it looks like stuff with transportation and
Mm-hmm.
home support might be available for them, and something I would have never thought of, because a lot of times when we think of Easter seals, we think of somebody, and youth wise and under 21, and you really
Mm-hmm.
don't remember that it helps all ages and ranges of types of disability. So that's wonderful to kind of put the forefront and remember that.
Yeah, they've been a lot of focus on including adults in the last few decades, and like I would say, like at the point, even our camp is majority adults at this point. Like it really is about that. That is in ways like the more underserved population, right? Like there's services for kids, like so. I think adults like we're still catching up, but I think that Easter Seals does put a lot of effort towards trying to make sure that the adult side of things and the aging and long term care gets covered.
Yeah.
And it's something that I hear from individuals with disabilities that are older or younger, family members, caregivers, and stuff. And a lot of times they're looking for information or places to navigate to these more specific services that they're looking for. But it's like, where do I start? Where do I go?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Eastern Seals is, I think, a really great place. It's shout out like other websites like Christopher and Dana Reed's Foundation and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
United Spinal and stuff. They are great as well. But again, Easter Seals, if you're looking for like a nice starting point to get to more specific
So
information,
much info.
go check out their website. It is very
Mm-hmm.
easy to navigate, so it is a
Mm-hmm.
It
lot of
is.
information, but they'll help
Mm-hmm.
guide you to the specific information that you need. So definitely a really great, amazing resource that can cover a lot of stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
also maybe open you up to some opportunities you didn't know existed when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to camping, outdoor activities, adaptive recreation, or other things like film and stuff like that. Always am looking for information on independent living and stuff like that too.
Mhm.
So that was something that really jumped out to me. But I'm sure the things that jump out to you know all of y'all who are going to go check out the website. So make sure to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a fun fact, the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation actually gave my camp a grant, which was part of our aquatics
Oh,
program. So that was
Nice.
our beach wheelchairs and access mats for the beach were actually through that grant.
very cool.
Hmm.
Super
Yeah, so
amazing.
all these great organizations work together, work alongside. Everybody's trying to benefit the community. So like,
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's give a shout out to everyone in the chat today. We
yeah,
didn't give you guys too much love because we were just having this amazing conversation with Angela. But let's shout out Donna and Grandma. Thank you guys for being here and hanging out with us always. Kevin, who has been a part of the Camp Challenge in Florida and has been involved in Easter Seals. Our friend Mr. Wheels. Make sure to go check out what Mr. Wheels thinks. He's got some awesome videos up on his YouTube channel and is doing really cool stuff too. And Cody, thank you for joining us.
yeah. Cody's
Roy,
actually and
Sue,
Ange is one of
Friend of
Ange's
mine.
friends, and I've known even for a long time. I know Cody.
Yeah. He lives
awesome.
down there by you guys.
Yeah, he's in here. So yeah, shout out Cody. What's up, man? Good to see you.
Yep,
And yeah,
virtual
Grandma,
camp
Mom,
everywhere.
both very happy, and Grandma says she's a proud grandma. So got
Yeah.
both of
Hi,
us on
Grandma.
here.
Hi, Aunt Donna.
uh, but yeah, no,
Well,
that was
thank
fun.
you
That was
all
cool.
for
Thank you,
having
Yeah.
me.
Ange. For
This was such a special treat because a lot of times we get in what's happening around in our world, and whenever we have that opportunity to expand and find out all these other great services, it's so wonderful to hear, and um, for you to supply just such a great organization, and we get to learn a little bit more. Thank you for this wonderful treat.
Thank
Well,
you.
I'm
Thank you for
really
having me. It was
excited.
great.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to have another uh, resource and to get on and try to get involved in some of these Easter Seals programs too. Like it
Yeah.
opened my world a little bit too. Like, I mean, I'm just so into camping and outdoor activities and stuff, and
Hmm.
would really love to go do that with Shawn and some other friends who are in chairs and, go and do this all together with them. So I'm going to hop on the website, try to see what I can figure out in terms of some of their camping programs and stuff too. So thank
Yeah.
you, Angela. Really appreciate you being here today and taking the
Yeah. And
time.
if you guys ever come up this way, I may still have enough pull to find you a place to do some outdoor stuff. So let me
Heck
know.
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, we're
I
going to
do.
take you
That
up on
area
that,
is so
Angela.
nice up there. We got to get up there just to
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
yeah, visit and check it
It's
out.
beautiful.
Definitely.
And it
Definitely.
All right.
kind of this kind of like, because I used to be a camp director for many years, and then working gets in the way a lot of times. So, and now that I just retired, I'm like, maybe I might have to look this up and
Feeling
see,
that camp itch again.
Yeah,
get that little itch going.
Yeah, that's great.
that's awesome.
Well,
All
thank you
right,
guys.
let's just real quick shout out tomorrow. Tom will be on doing some gaming. Mr.
Heck
Wheels is
yeah.
throwing that in there too. He'll be on, I'm sure, with you. So yeah, every
Space.
Wednesday night, 5 p.m. We got
We're going to be
got
streaming. We got a great crew, a bunch of us. We get on there and play together. And anybody is welcome to come and join us, whether you just want to hang out in the chat or download the games and actually get on the stream and play with us too. We'd love to have you. And it's a super fun time. So we appreciate you guys if you come and hang out.
Are you
yeah.
playing Pac-Man or Space Invaders?
We're upgraded a little bit beyond that, Bobby, but come on and hang out. I'll make sure to educate you on the next gen games that are coming out these days. And I think we got our ladies show this Thursday
Yeah,
as well,
this
right?
Thursday, and then after on Thursday will be Brianna doing the women's show. Not 100% sure what the topic is. I'll probably find out in a little bit here today. Get, and then next week we'll be back with another live on Tuesday, and
Yep.
Bobby will be on with the Rolling Over the Hill crew, talking about aging with a disability. So lots of fun, cool shows, content coming out. And yeah, check out that last vlog video we threw up. Triumph Foundation Sports Festival, fun little weekend. And yeah, we'll see you guys all next week. Live to roll, everyone.
Take care,
Bye, y'all.
everyone.